Washington has held that same nickname for the past 87 seasons, which is the most consecutive seasons with the same nickname before a change in the history of the NFL, Major League Baseball, the NBA, or the NHL. Over that 87 years, the franchise reached the playoffs 24 times and won 5 championships, including 3 Super Bowls. One of the men who helped them win 2 of those Super Bowls is Hall of Fame defensive back Darrell Green, who is kind enough to join us for a few moments on today's show. Darrell, thanks so much for being here. What is your reaction to this decision to change the name?
I have a very positive reaction to it. I think that, if we're going to reconcile history, it's going to be complicated. So I'm good with complications. Playing cornerback, that's not a problem. And, as we parse them out, sort of the accomplishments and the flaws and the mistakes and the destructive behaviors, all the difficult aspects, it all relates to human beings. And generally, when you're dealing with human beings, it's going to be problems that have to be solved. My attitude is that I remember years ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I was asked about this. And I said, if someone has been offended, then I think that it would be right to have a conversation. And so, but with that said, if we're going to really sort of address these things, and we're going to have to consider everything. We have to consider, the different offensive actions. We're going to have to talk about the conversations that need to be had. I guess, for example, is there an apology need to be given? Is there, what are the measures that go through for the repairs, if there's repairs? And how do we get people who've been defrauded whole, if that's an issue? At the end of the day, the goal of any person or organization, that has offended another human group, it's got to be recognized. It's got to be dealt with. And so I appreciate it. I really do. I really appreciate what Mr. Snyder is doing at this juncture. It's no secret that the whole nation is under something right now. And in my vantage point, it's a good thing. But I think more importantly, it's not only it's a good thing, but it's not about highlighting the bad thing as much as moving forward toward what we can make it become. And that's what I appreciate about this process. And so I'm excited about it. And there's a lot to be said about it in terms of how we move forward. And I have some thoughts about that. And more importantly, I wish I could have a voice in that process.
So, all right, well, you mentioned that, is an apology needed? Are there things that need to happen that go beyond a name change? Is that how you feel? And if so, what are some of those things?
Well, let me say this. I don't really so much want to talk about how I feel as much as what really is. Just because I played don't mean that I know everything. I certainly have played more than anybody in the history of the team. So I played, but I don't own the team. But when we talk about this, let's say, for example, when we talk about the issues of memorializing the past, how do you memorialize the past history? The offenses, how do you memorialize the positives? Will the Hall of Fame have to, will they send all of us new jerseys? Will we get rid of everything that's Redskins? And those are conversations. Everybody wants to be fighting. I don't think we're at a fighting place. The scripture says years ago, and somebody asked me this earlier, they said, why did he change? And you may have that in your notes. Why did we change? And I said, there's a story in the Bible where 2 people were asked to do something. One said, I'm going to do it. The other one said, I'm not. The one that said, I'm going to do it didn't. And the one who said, I'm not did. The one who said, I'm not did, he did the thing. And so which one of them really obeyed? Which one of them accomplished it? And so it's not about how and why, it's about we are here today. And that's what I'm grateful, and I applaud Dan Snyder for this. It's special. It's important. So, we do have to have the conversations now. Okay, what are the steps? Do we change our trophies? Nobody wears any paraphernalia anymore? All of those things. Oh, but I love the red. Listen, years ago when I first came here, somebody asked me also, they said, have you heard from any of the Indian community in your history? And I actually haven't. But from the time I got here 37 years ago, I heard that it used to be fight for old Dixie. And I met African-American men who played in the league and people who were fans. And they've said, we could, man, Darrell, we love you, but we can never be a Redskin fan. And the history is clear, you know, about Bobby Mitchell and so forth, and how he came here. But I'm saying that's real. That stuff is real. And so this move is real, and some people are going to have different opinions about it, but that's okay. We're here now, and I applaud Dan Snyder for what he's doing, trying to move us all forward. That's what I'm grateful for, and I'm humbled to be here. I'm not here to blast knowing I want this, and I don't want anything but right and what's true and what's honest and what's full of integrity. That's all I'm really concerned about, and I believe that the majority of the fans would agree with me on that. So how they go forward, I'd love to be in the conversation, talk about the name, talk about what do we do, because I got jerseys and helmets, and hey, I'm ready to throw them away. Give me another helmet. Give me the new helmet, because when I ran down the field in Chicago and I chased down Dorsett or whatever the case may be, those things were for the team that was in Washington. So it didn't really matter. It still happened, and it was the team that was in Washington, and so that happened. But to give me a new jersey and a new helmet, that's fine. I'm good with that. I'm not into the argument thing. I'm just into the grateful part of how we can move forward in our society, and this is part of it.
I find that interesting. We don't have a lot of time, but I did want to ask you, you would consider throwing away old jerseys that you wore in games where you made history as a member of this team?
Yeah, you give me another one, aren't you? Give me another one. Give me another one that represents this team. Because that one is offensive.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.